Welcome, everyone, to the J.D. Power Travel Podcast for the month of July. I am Andrea Stokes, the practice lead for hospitality at J.D. Power. We do not have our normal crew here today, which includes Mike Taylor, who is our practice lead for travel and airlines. On the podcast today. He could not make it, but I am happy to be here and very, very happy to have a guest on our podcast. We have Andrea Melotti from Hard Rock Hotels. Andrea, welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know you and your whole team at Hard Rock Hotels were very, very excited to be awarded the J.D. Power Award for Hotel Guest Satisfaction in the upper upscale category this year. This is not the first award for Hard Rock Hotels, but I'm hoping you can share with us, how did Hard Rock do it this year when we're still in a pandemic and it still might be a little bit of a tough time out there for the hospitality industry.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, incredibly excited. I think that right now this is the fourth award, of which three of the awards were as the top brand in the upper upscale. I think last year we were the top brand overall. And it's been a quite unique time for us as it was for all of our partners and all of our competitors around the world. I think one of the things that we did probably better than anybody else is that regardless of the condition and regardless of what was happening around the world with the pandemic and other headwinds, we continue to stay true to our values. We continue to stay true to what has made the brand so successful for 50 plus years. We just went through our 50th anniversary. And we continue to take great care of our team members. The team members continue to take great care of our guests, and we ended up continuing that emotional connection that has made the brand so successful in every endeavor that we have out there, whether it's hotels, casinos, cafes. So we were also very transparent in everything that we were doing when it comes to cleanliness, condition, health and safety. And we spent a lot of time explaining that to our guests. I think that particular unique type of connections that we have with our guests makes a big difference because they know that when they come to one of our properties, they know exactly what to expect. So it wasn't easy. We didn't win with the margin that we won last year, but we were still 15 points ahead of the second, so we feel extremely good about it. And we're working already to win the one for next year.
Wow, so congratulations on the 50th anniversary. I didn't know that. That's very, very exciting. With regard to the pandemic, are there any particular success stories that stand out in your mind over the past 2 years that you can tell us about? And when I say success stories, perhaps a staff member or a team that did something that really stood out to you as being really, creative and innovative in terms of meeting the operational challenges due to the pandemic.
Yeah, I think our big success story as a brand was putting in place a program that we called Safe and Sound that was actually sparked by the team and then some of the teams on the field through the brainstorming and always looking at how you react to what's happening out there in a way that is still truth to the brand and to the roots of our incredible brand. So what happened there is that we were able to put together a program that not only had an element of health and cleanliness and was sending a message of absolute sterilization of the property, but also was sending a message that was a little bit different from what every other brand out there was doing. You are not coming to a hospital, you're still coming to a property that has that magic, that entertainment element, the music element. So we don't want you to come here and have an experience that you would have in a place that is completely aseptic. You still will have a safe environment, but with the element of the brands. So that was actually how we started, and a lot of kudos to a lot of the team members in the field that came back with a lot of ideas of how to do that. One of the ideas that came out of the field was to create a unique yellow jersey for the clean team, the safe and sound clean team, so that they would be extremely recognizable when they were going around the public space of the hotel. And the design of these t-shirts became so popular that we actually we were asked if we could sell them to the guests, and we actually refused to do that because it was a very specific need for those particular shirts. But it was interesting to see how successful this was. The other element that we were very serious about and that we saw some of our competitors failing was the fact that we just didn't want to have a program for the marketing and the promotional side of things to reassure our guests, but we wanted to make sure that this program was properly executed at every single property that has the Hard Rock name out there. So little secret for our competitive set, so that next year they're going to give us a little bit more of a challenge. But one of the things that we did is where we created immediately a mystery shop dedicated just to the Safe and Sound program. And so we had a third party that started auditing all of our properties, making sure that all the elements that we had put in place were actually properly executed at the property level. And thanks to our friends at J.D. Power, we were then able to look at the results from the eyes and the perspective of the guest around the world, well, especially in North America. And we were able to see that guests at our properties recognized the fact that there was a health and safety program in place, sometime 20 points, 20 percentage point higher than other properties. So that made a big impact when it comes to the overall satisfaction of our guests, because not only we were putting something in place, but we were making sure that the guests could feel and touch that particular program, rather than just pretending that the program is successful without knowing really what the guest perception was. So a big thanks to J.D. Power, because the studies that J.D. Power put together allowed us to really gauge the success of the program. And there were a few insights that we were able to learn that we actually put in place immediately thereafter, hence why the program continued to be so successful.
That's great. You just gave us an example of, some changes and improvements that Hard Rock has made as a result of guest feedback. Are there any examples of non-pandemic related changes or improvements that you have made over the years, and you've asked your staff to make over the past few years as a direct result of guest feedback? I know you and your team do collect guest surveys after their stays at the Hard Rock properties. So I'm curious how you look at that feedback, and again, what changes or improvements that kind of came out of your analysis of that feedback.
Yes, as you can imagine, we spend a lot of time, and we have an whole team that does only that, analyze the guest feedback, and we receive guest feedback through several different channels. We send guest surveys. We have all the aggregators for online reputation management. We have our own auditors that go through the properties. We have a third-party mystery shopper, and then we are able to take all of this information, analyze them, and immediately provide feedback to the properties that is immediately actionable and very relevant for each one of the different departments. I can tell you something that was extremely important for us that came out of some of this feedback, and frankly, JD Power helped us with that, was something that might be counterintuitive at the beginning. Because of the success of our properties, sometimes we have lines at check-in, and no matter how many check-in pods we have, when you have properties where we can count about 1,500 people checking in at the same time, there will be a little bit of a line. One of the findings was that when we took the time at the check-in, once the guest was in front of the front desk member agent, when we took the time and didn't rush the guest, their perception of the waiting line was actually minimal. Basically, even if they were 10, 15 minutes in line, when they were asked, did you have to wait a long time for the room, they would say, no, I didn't. Now, if we had guests that had waited the same amount of time, but they were rushed upon check-in, their experience ended up being perceived as an experience of long wait. So we made some changes at the way we were approaching the check-in, and we made sure that no matter how long the lines were, once you were at the front desk, the front desk agent wouldn't rush the guest. It would take the time to explain what was going on around the property, would take time to explain all the different opportunities for entertainment that the guest had, and then they were either accompanied or sent to the room in a way that didn't feel rushed. And we saw after that additional points going up when it comes to the overall arrival guest experience. So that's the type of changes that we immediately execute based on the feedback that we receive from our guests.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. And like you said, counterintuitive. A real learn. It sounds like it was a real learning opportunity for the teams at the hotel and for everyone who, especially who were working at the front desk. So thank you for that. Big news: Hard Rock recently opened a new property in Manhattan. How were you able to develop and open a new hotel in such an iconic location during a pandemic? How was it different, perhaps, than other hotel openings that you have been involved in?
Well, the good news is that cameras are not being used today, so you cannot see that I have no hair left in my head, and I think a lot of our team went through a lot. No, but it was an absolute unique opportunity for us to be, especially in an iconic city like New York. We have been waiting to open the right properties in that market for decades. We actually had a property a few years ago, probably 15 years ago, that we had identified, but just didn't work out for us the way we wanted it. So we waited as long as we needed to wait because we wanted an absolutely iconic building. So our parent company, the Seminole Tribe, gave us a huge amount of money to execute that with a partner called Excel. We were able to develop from scratch a 446 rooms masterpiece, steps away from Radio City Hall, steps away from Times Square, built with Jeffrey Beers, the architects, the international architects, to the specs of Hard Rock. And while it was, as you can imagine, especially with the pandemic, quite an undertaking, it was really an incredibly exciting journey for all of us. We opened the property in April. We had celebrities, an amazing feedback, impact. The team there, with all the learnings through the years, they were able to execute at a level that is probably unheard of, especially in Midtown Manhattan and in that particular area. I'm happy to share the fact that when you look at their customer satisfaction scores after 3 months of opening, they're already way ahead of the competitive set. We love our friends at W Hotels and our friends at Edition, but they are now, we're looking at them through the rear view mirror when it comes to guest satisfactions. And I think the exciting part for us was to be able to bring all of the learning and the ethos of the brand into a space that is quite unique, and that probably a lot of guests didn't expect the brand to excel. So I encourage everybody to go to 48th Street and take a look at the property. You start from the bottom to the top. We have some unique features such as the New York Yankees Steakhouse, restaurants, a venue where you've had already John Legend, Florence and the Machine performing, and then when you start going up the stairs, you come into this beautiful atrium with the session restaurants. Take the elevator up to the 34th floor, and you have an absolutely stunning rooftop bar with views from both sides, the terraces and whatnot. So it's something that we were frankly dreaming of when it comes to New York, and now it's a reality. So it was a journey. It took a lot of us, a lot of time, energy, but ultimately the results are exceeding all of our expectations.
That's very exciting. I can't wait to see the property. I have not been up to New York in the past few months, but the next time I am there, I will definitely have to stop by and see the property. It sounds fantastic. And I will definitely want to go up to that rooftop bar.
Yeah, there's a couple of
So,
drinks I can tell you. The one you should have, they are quite amazing. The mixologist there, it's
oh,
really, really
right.
good.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us today, Andrea. Thank you. Congratulations again on the JD Power Award and on the 50th anniversary of the Hard Rock brand. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea. We'll see you in a year from now.
Yes, and that wraps up our podcast today. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Again, this is the JD Power Travel Podcast. I am Andrea Stokes, practice lead for hospitality. And please join us next month. We'll see you then.